Okay, we are here back live then here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive. We apologise for the technical difficulties where Okayama in the land of the rising sun jumped from the United Kingdom over for the third round here of this Formula Renault 2.0 championship. As things stand right now, you can see a lot of battling has gone on already, which we haven't been able to catch with the cameras, but for the moment we have things going on right now. Jake Sperry, Connery Maddock here in the commentary box as well, and we've seen a massive incident that has caused a lot of drivers to fall one lap down or further, likes of Lionel Gamay, Nick Rowland, Sergei Zakharov, David Jarvis has been involved for the Carbon Racing team, but out front at the moment by 4.1 seconds, it's Samuel Liebert, the pole sitter here, who has just ran away with things from the drop of the green flag here, Connery.
Yes, he has. That is an absolutely massive gap at this stage in the race. Only 6 laps into this race, having a gap of 4.1 seconds is really impressive. But things are starting to heat up for your second place battle right here. Riley Preston and Ricardo Castroledo. Castroledo's been catching little bit by little bit over the last few laps, and he may be in a position to try and go for a pass at some point. There's also Scott Newton behind as well. I haven't seen much of him, but he's just been tagging onto the back of these two as well.
Yeah, and of course you have to remember Scott Newton's done incredibly well in that opening race of the season at Watkins Glen, got himself up into second position, was just behind Boris Spolstra. Now you want to know where Boris Spolstra is. He's only down in P number 5 at the moment in a little world of his own. He's 1.7 seconds then off of this group here, battle for second going on. Castroledo, close as they come down in towards turn number 1, and they still can't quite get himself close enough as they head towards turn number 2. Runs a little bit wide actually there on exit, has to straighten up the car a little bit, took a little bit of a longer time to get himself up over to the right hand side of the circuit to take Williams correctly there, Connery, and that's going to cost Castroledo here in the long run, because they're only on lap 7 of 22 here. Of course, it's about half an hour here to race around this circuit, and you just got to buy your time, and at the moment that's what Castroledo is starting not to do, make the mistakes, but as you say that, right tucked in under the toe.
Yeah, here he comes, right in the draft where Riley Preston will try to take a defensive line down the middle of the track there, but Ricardo Castroledo will not be close enough to make a move that time by though. But Ricardo Castroledo has to play it patient right now. He can't afford to run wide too many more times, otherwise he'll just lose all momentum that he has.
Yes, he does, and you also got to remember that off-track incidents are a thing, and it's a big number 17 that you have to try and avoid, otherwise you will get yourself black flagged and disqualified then from the race. Further down the field though, we do have a little bit of a car wounded but keeping himself going. That's Jack Keithley there in the number 12 machine. He's got no front nose on his vehicle, and he is really severely limping the car. A 1:27.4 his last lap time. You compare that to the lap times going along, you got the likes of Jamie Wilson who had a poor 1:28, but for the moment Keithley's doing a really good job without too much of a front wing. Maybe some very cold toes there, Connery.
Yes, indeed. A couple of cars struggling with damage. Jamie Wilson, of course, is one of them. Some of the cars back through, you feel Simon Trendell also has a little bit of a bent front wing as well. So a couple of early incidents for these guys just incurring a little bit of damage. They'll be off the pace for the rest of this race, we suspect. But looking back towards that battle for P2, though, it's still Riley Preston in front. And look at Ricardo Castroledo. He's trying to get every ounce of speed out of that car, just locking up that inside right front tire in the hairpin.
Yeah, he really is, and well, at the moment, he's really trying to push himself a little bit further. He almost got the race world record at Watkins Glen, but he couldn't do it because he set it in qualifying, not in the race. Tucked right underneath them as they head into this hairpin, and then they're going to head through the series of left-hand corners. The Revolver is the first one here, and then you're going to see himself go through the second, and you can just see that aerodynamic effect here, Connery. It does play a little bit of a role here in these cars, but not enough to really make it, you could say, unattractive racing where cars are always 0.8 of a second away from each other. You know, he can run pretty close behind, but for the moment, just still can't get quite close enough to the back of Riley Preston's machine.
No, he can't. And yeah, as you say, you do lose a little bit of front downforce running behind another car in these Formula Renault cars, but not as much as, say, the McLaren MP430, the Formula 1 car. So Ricardo Castroledo, he's sticking in that draft. He's sticking with Riley Preston. That's all he needs to do. He doesn't need to make a rash move this early on in the race. He just locks up again coming down into turn 1. He's doing a few too many lockups for my liking.
Yeah, he really is, and he's got to really cut that out if he wants to continue working that car very well. We do have some battles going on in the mid to late of your pack right now. You got Quentin Kint and Patrick Raymond there, as Raymond gets a little bit of a wiggle coming out of the final corner, but he keeps the car there, nose to tail. And they also got to look about the car trying to break away. Jan Schwieter here started 9th, down into 10th position after incidents early on. Let's get a graphic of your top 10 though up on your screen. You will see two drivers who have pretty much sliced away through the traffic there. Ollie Croker in the number 17, and also Gonzalo Camara there in the number 16. Both of them here, Connery, up 7 positions at the moment. Side by side though for second, and a bit of contact there as Castrolano takes to the gravel.
Yes, indeed, some fantastic racing, but not so fantastic in that Riccardo Castrolano was pushed wide just a little bit. Just a little bit of contact between Ricardo Lestro's left front tyre and Preston's right rear tyre just sends him off the track and collects a bit of dust and debris on those tyres, but no harm done right now.
No harm done for the moment then, and they've got to make sure that they've got some people there. That was the number 1 and the number 2 getting themselves into all sorts of trouble there, but they continue on their merry way just for the time being. So Riccardo Castrolano, of course, a former iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series driver, and then you got Riley Preston, a current iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series driver. If you want to know who's leading this race though, by the way, it's Samuel Lebert. He's out and away by 6.2 seconds as things stand at the moment. Scott Newton, don't count him out, the number 18 Apex Racing car. He still has a lot of opportunity here just to sit back, wait and see how things developed. Had an opportunity to go down the inside there, Connery, but just couldn't do it for that moment. So that is just one of those things where he's going to have to wait in line and just hope that there is another opportunity later in this race.
Yes, indeed. He's just racing a very, very patient race right now. He may not have the pace of Riccardo Castrolano and Riley Preston in front of him, but if he can rely on Riccardo Castrolano places on your podium right now, so he just has to sit there and be a very, very patient.
Yes, he certainly does, and of course we've seen a few incidents on the opening few laps, like some Mark Usher getting turned around on lap 1. He now finds himself towards the rear of the field now, last of the cars on the lead lap in 17th position here in this race. We've also seen some retirements, Game, Roland, Zakharov, Jarvis there, and you've also got Scott McIntyre still racing one lap down, looking for maybe some rating, maybe looking for something else, but he's got that battle ahead. Jan Schwieter and Patrick Raymond. Raymond's found a way through actually on the driver of Jan Schwieter, so Schwieter starting to struggle a little bit. He's now down to 11th position, Connery.
Yeah, I believe Schwieter is just struggling with that rear, front wing damage, as he just locks up going into the left-hand hairpin right there. So that front end damage is going to affect his front end grip by quite a lot. That thing is seriously damaged right now, and he may be coming under threat from Scott McIntyre at any point during this lap.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, Scott McIntyre's got nothing to lose. He's a lap down, doesn't have to do anything about letting himself get unlapped in this situation. But you can see he'll move to the inside then on going towards turn number 1. And very wisely, Jan Schwieter just backs out of it, says, I don't want any part to do with it. And for the moment, he falls behind the lap car. Quentin Kint is the car behind also to deal with. And you've got to remember here, difference between them in lap times here, between the 14 and the 3, is half a second a lap here for Quentin Kint. And he's only there about 1.8 seconds behind at the moment, Connery. And to remember the fact that there's been backing off into turn number 1, Jan Schwieter could become under threat in the next 2 or 3 laps.
Yes, he could, and I'm just looking at Kint's car as well, and he also has a slight bit of front wing damage right there, but he is still currently faster than Jan Schwieter, so the damage on that car of Kint is perhaps less hindering than on Schwitter's car. But ahead of Schwieter as well, you got that car, Patrick Raymond. I don't think he has any damage to his car at all. He has
gonna have to cut you off. Car. Battle for second place. A little weave there. A little look to the inside from Riccardo Castrolano, even on Riley Preston. Just couldn't get it done down the front straight. And so the game of staying in line happens for the moment there. And you're going to have to stay with this one because he could have a great opportunity coming out of this next corner here. This is Mike Atwood. And he'll be looking to try and go through here. This right-hander really open up this corner. But he doesn't get the best of runs. That allows Scott Newton then to tag onto the back, and line astern will stay parity for the moment. You also got to keep an eye though here on this battle for 5th, 6th and 7th right now. Boris Spolstra now starting to get reeled in a little bit by Gonzalo Camara and also Ollie Croker as well. Croker the quickest of the 3 right now, and he's only 9/10 of a second back of Gonzalo Camara here at the moment. Connery could really start to make waves.
Yeah, as he locks up in that right-hand hairpin. I've seen a lot of people do that so far this race, but if you look at lap times, Ollie Quokka was about half a tenth faster than Kamara that time by, and now he's close enough to gain the benefit of the draft, so this is definitely one to keep an eye on, Jake.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Castrolado as well, you've got to keep an eye on him. He's really starting to fall back now from Riley Preston, who starts to see the pressure ease off of him a little bit as they head through the final corner here at the circuit of Okayama, just for the time being. And you can certainly see the gaps really opening up here around this circuit. Everyone's just trying to find themselves a little bit of a gap here or there, and you can still see Scott Newton, though, looking at that final spot on the podium through turn 1. Now they come through Williams, turn number 2, and now they head through the S's section. You can see everyone just really trying to find that little gap, and Scott Newton here really has, as you can see down into this corner, just doesn't carry as much apex speed through that part, but tries to run that exit, and he gets himself very nicely in the toe.
Yes, he does. He perhaps has a little bit of the double toe from both Riley Preston and Ricardo Castrolado here. You can see him close up just before the braking zone. Will not go for a move this time by as Ricardo Castrolado again.
Yeah, he really can't. You've got to be careful around a circuit like this. You have to make sure that you find yourself in a battle here or a battle there, and you're certainly starting to see here Riley Preston just break away from Castrolado and Newton gets a big half spin, and that's going to cause him to fall quite a ways away now. He falls himself about half a second, but as you say that, Ricardo Castrolado also makes a mistake there in the number 1. He gets himself a little bit of a twitch, and that's going to cause this group to just open out that little bit more here, Connery. So, mistakes starting to fly here. We are over half distance.
Yes, two completely unrelated, unforced mistakes there from Ricardo Castrolado and Scott Newton. Again, you cannot be affording to be doing those at this stage in the race. We just saw Ricardo Castrolado run a little bit wide again in turn 1. He's been doing that quite often during this race, and I don't think it's doing him any favors.
No, it's not. It certainly is muddying up the tyres just that little bit, and he has to make sure he goes careful. But look about this battle then here between Gonzalo Camara and Ollie Quokka then back to 6th place here out on circuit. That gap's come down to about 0.6 of a second, half a second, and now you can see Ollie Quokka then. He's tucked in underneath the toe now as they head down the back straight to the prime overtaking opportunity here of this hairpin. Tightest corner and slowest corner here on the circuit. He gets in close here, 0.3, 0.2, and then he hit the brakes and he just can't get close enough. He tries to open up the corner here, but he over here. He starts to struggle a little bit, and it's just that case of where do you open, where do you pick the lines. Charlie Summers has come under a little bit of pressure here, and he's dropped himself quite a ways down the order. He's now behind Mark Usher, as he's now in 16th position here, Connery.
Yeah, Mark Usher just got through just a couple of corners to go as we look back towards that fight between the number 16 and the number 17 cars of Kamara and Quokka. Quokka has been very, very, very close as they come through the final corner right here. Important to get a good run out here. You can run wide there as Kamara just clips a little bit of the gravel. That loses him a little bit of momentum. Quokka is closing up. He won't be close enough down into turn 1 though.
No, he won't. He'll have to try and work on this one again. We are rapidly approaching, though, the end of this race. Just about 8 laps to go then before we call the checker flag and say game over, done and dusted. But for the moment, Ollie Quokka just can't seem to find a break any which way he looks. He doesn't get quite close enough, and you actually have to be careful on your lap times around here. Quokka still, though, was the quickest driver out of the 3 the last time by. He did a 1:23.9. Compare that to the 24.2s of both Kamara and Spolstra. You just feel here, Connery, that if Ollie Quokka can find a way to get around Gonzalo Kamara here, he really does have a great chance of taking on the championship leader here, Boris Spolstra.
Yes, catching is one thing, low Jake, but passing is another, and we'll have to see how well he deals with it when we get towards that time, though. He has to catch him first, and then try desperately to get past to then catch that car of Boris Spolstra.
Yeah, he really does have to try and find a way, but towards the front of the field, though, you've got Castrolado and Preston, though. They are getting a little bit closer than they were. That gap now back underneath the second once again and getting a little bit closer once again through the final corner. They've just come along to start their 16th lap here out of a potential 22, and compare the lap times, a 23.6 from Castrolado, a 23.8 from Riley Preston. That lops another 0.2 then off of the time between the two. That brings the gap down to just 0.6 of a second then as they head through Williams corner. Riley Preston here is being put under immense amounts of pressure then from Castrolado, who's just got to wait, buy his time, and you can sit there as much as you like. It's all about who makes the overtake. come the end of the race here, Connery. And now heading up this straight then, that gap certainly going to come back in, slipstream certainly in effect.
Yes, it is, and looking at the times here, Riccardo Castellitto did a 1:23.6, Preston did a 0.8, so that is 0.2 of a second faster that Riccardo Castellitto is at this stage over Riley Preston, and look at it, he's all over the back of the rear wing.
There he is, and actually Ollie Croco as well is looking for a little bit of a move then on the driver of Gonzalo Camara as well. That battle still going on, but we're going to stay with Castellitto here in the number 1 machine. Heads himself then into this big left-hand hairpin that leads into this right hairpin. Big twitch though, middle of the corner, had to use opposite lock there to correct the mistake, and he's very lucky here that he's still within touching distance here of Riley Preston, because pretty much anyone with less experience, and actually as you say that, another little wiggle there from Riley Preston, so everyone on the ragged edge of these vehicles, really trying to get the maximum out of it. This is how hard they're pushing at each other right now, and at the moment there is absolutely nothing that these cars can do, even though they're 8.5 seconds off of your race leader right now.
Yeah, you just gotta look at Riccardo Castellitto's number 1 Formula Renault right there. It is all over the place. He's trying to get every single ounce of speed out of that car to try and catch Riley Preston. It's really impressive to see.
It certainly is right now, and he'll be looking once again here for a big move as they come through the outward curve and onto this back straight once again on lap 17, running out of opportunities potentially. Riley Preston, you can see over to the right hand side and then back to the left goes the driver of Riley Preston. He looks to try and break that slipstream, and Castellitto has a little look. He shows the nose to say that he's there, and actually he forces the man wide there with that mistake, and that gives him half a nose to have a little look, but he doesn't get it through this corner. Remember, they touched once already here through the revolver, and they're going to have to be careful if they come together again. That's the warning shot there, Connery. That could have been the move that decided things, but Ollie Croker, though, has got himself through in the number 17. He's now up 8 positions today, up into P number 6.
Yes, it is a really impressive run from him, and looking at that battle between Camara and Quokka, Quokka has actually gotten through on Camara, so Quokka is up to 6th place right now. He's having a good run. He's qualified in 14th.
Yes, he has, and he's really started to make those inroads now. We've got to see if he can close down Boris Spolstra here in the remaining laps. The lap times say pretty much no, it's not going to happen, but, you know, there is still a little bit of time. Mistakes can creep in, especially in this battle for second position that we continue to religiously try and focus on right now, and you can certainly see a lot of battling still to be going on then as they head through the S's section. Now onto the brakes then, they drop to 75 miles an hour even, as they now get themselves back up onto the accelerator. 100 miles an hour, 110 in the toe is Castellitto, and he's going to get close, and now it's all about how late does Riley Preston make the move. He goes to the inside of the circuit, and Castellitto tries to follow him, and he has to back out of it just a little bit. That could have ended in tears. He now looks to the outside, and that's a mistake from Castellitto's point of view. Should have looked to the outside, didn't.
Yes, there was definitely not enough space on the inside of that corner on the right-hand side from the driver's perspective, but Riccardo Castellitto tried to go for it, and then he paid the price.
Yeah, he did, and you've also got to remember there's a little bit of lap traffic ahead as well. That's Charlie Summers in the number 15 for the Red Devils team, and they're going to have to be careful about that because lap traffic traditionally does get in the way a little bit, and we have seen it already in this series that a car here or there certainly does play dividends come the end of this race. You can see, though, that gap opens up a little bit more. Castellitto having to do the work all over again just to keep a little bit of an eye on Boris Spolstra's lap times here in the number 5 Scuderia Leone car. Let's see what he does when he comes across the start-finish line. His last lap time was a 1:24.6, or a 24.2 even. He does a 24.4, a 23.9 from Ollie Croker. He's closing, you know. It's 1.8 seconds with 4 laps to go. At this current pace, 0.4 of a second, he might have a chance in the final lap, Connery.
Yeah, he may have a chance, and it's definitely one that we have to keep an eye on, that battle between the 5 and the 17. The battle between the 2 and the 1, though, for your second podium spot, though. Riccardo Castellitto, again, may have another chance coming down into the braking zone of this right-hand hairpin. He goes around the outside. Riccardo Castellitto carrying a lot of speed. He has a lapped car to deal with Charlie Summers, yet still manages to go too wide. You're on the inside of Revolver right there. Take a bow, Riccardo Castellitto.
replay then. Let's get one up on screen because that was absolutely fantastic. But you know what? Riley Preston's not done. He'll take a little look to the inside, but no, it's very furiously defended. But you have to say, Riley Preston, for all he did, for all he defended, he just really struggled here at this circuit here. He just couldn't get himself then onto the inside. He really just couldn't get any sort of traction coming out of the corners, and that really did affect him come the end of that move. And that's why he's behind Castrolado, who after immense amounts of work has finally broken the Australian there on lap 19 of the race, Connery.
Yeah, it was a fantastic bit of driving from Ricardo Castrolado. Fantastic bit of heads-up driving as well. He had a lapped car to deal with amongst all of that action. So, absolutely great drive from Lado right now. But can Riley Preston reply to that?
Well, that is going to be the question. You can see that gap is still there, and he might have an opportunity into the right-hander. Slightly misses the apex a little bit, though, does Riley Preston, which is going to be there. The problem, there's the replay on screen then. Side, and he did incredibly well, actually, did Castrolado, to go around the outside, deal with the traffic, thread the needle, and then send it to the inside. Not close enough this time, though, is the driver of Riley Preston, but there will be even more traffic ahead of that, because Simon Trendle in the number 6 will start to come up on them with just a few laps to go. 2 to go when they're going to cross the line here, Connery. And also you've got to look at Ollie Croker, because he is now visibly a lot closer to the back of Boris Spolstra.
Yes, 2 battles that we're watching currently. The battle for second place between Ricardo Castrolado and the potential battle between Boris Spolstra and Ollie Croker for that 5th position. So things are going to be very, very interesting in these closing laps, Jake.
Yeah, they certainly are. You can see rounding the final corner is Preston and Castrolado. Lado runs a little bit wide, and here comes the lap traffic car of Simon Trendle here. You can certainly see he's trying to get himself out of the way when he knows that blue flag will come and get him when he is within half a second of the other car. And you can see now into this left-hander of Williams' corner, Castrolado trying to break away, and he'll catch him in a pretty good spot here, I'd say, as he goes through the SS section. Riley Preston has the tougher task of it because he has to take that wider line, which is going to compromise him a few thousandths of a second as they come down into the Atwood curve. And for the moment, I don't think he's going to be quite close enough. You look at Boris Spolstra, though, who's got to try and get around Charlie Summers. Summers pulls to the inside, and that's going to allow there Ollie Croker to get a little bit more apex speed through the mid part of the corner, gets himself away, and that gap certainly comes down, Connery. 1 and a little bit laps to go.
Yes, that gap is certainly coming down, but will it be enough for Ollie Croker? We will have to wait and see. It's not too long now before the end of this race. Riley Preston, though, for that second place is staying on the back of Ricardo Castrolado, but he hasn't really had an opportunity to pass since Ricardo Castrolado got past.
No, he certainly hasn't, and he runs a little bit wide there through that first hairpin, and now to the second one there in sequence, and he just loses a little bit of time. He's got to find something sensational as Libert starts the final lap then of this motor race at the moment, and you can see Ollie Croker certainly close, but will be close enough to challenge Boris Spolstra. For the moment, I'm not going to. There is still a chance, though, as he comes out to the final corner, so 2 battles to keep your eye on. Riley Preston, though, has to find a little bit more than he has done at the moment. For the moment, he can't quite see enough here of the back of Ricardo Castrolado. His lap times haven't said anything to really say he can do much. It might have to be a Hail Mary down into one of these corners, and you have to say he's not quite close enough at the moment. Goes deep in on the apex, tries to open out the final part of the corner. Hard to the inside, though, goes Castrolado, who knows he's got to go defensive here into this into this hairpin, which leads up towards the Revolver's corner. And you also have to say that the leader is starting to walk away here as he heads into that next left-hander, as he heads to the final 2 hairpins. Nothing for Castrolado, nothing he can do. Spolstra, he's just got enough then on Ollie Croker, who is trying desperately down to the inside. He can't do it, but one man stands head and shoulders above the rest. Just lapped Jack Keighley there without the front nose, and he won't lap Jamie Wilson, though, but with 2 corners to go, and this final corner, the winner, the last winner of 2016 here on iRacingLive and RaceSpotTV will be Samuel Libert, who does a sensational job and takes himself a crucial race victory at the circuit of Okayama. Looking back, though, for the battle for second, Castrolado will hold on against Riley Preston. Newton there in 4th, but Boris Spolstra, a quiet drive from the championship leader. Little bit of contact there on the opening lap, but only P number 5, Connery, that will cost him in terms of championship points.
Yes, it will, but I got to say that was an absolutely fantastic race there between Ricardo Castelletto and Riley Preston. That's what these Formula Renault cars are all about. Close, guys, is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we've still got a little bit of a battle going on as well. The number 22, Patrick Raymond, though, gets a horrible corner and can't do anything to close down on Fabrice Cornelis there. The number 13, Scuderia Leone car, just manages to pull away a little bit more come the end of this race. He'll finish down in P number 9 over a minute off the pace of the leaders, and that says a lot. And actually give fair credit here to Mark Usher. He's through on Jan Schwieter here on the final lap as well. Started in 5th, had an incident on lap 1, dropped into the back of the field, but he's fought hard and very resiliently there with lap times around the 1:23s here, so he's certainly done a very good job. His fastest lap, a 1:23.3. Compare that to your race winner of Samuel Libert. His fastest lap was also a 1:23.3 as well, so did very well. But let's get classified results then up on your screen. This is how everything has ended come the end of this. Samuel Libert in the number 8 machine wins by over 10 seconds over Ricardo Castelletto, with Riley Preston coming home in 3rd. Scott Newton will come home in 4th position for the Apex Racing UK team. Boris Spolstra there in 5th position, championship leader, with Ollie Croker jumping a monumental 8 places to finish 6th, with Angus Waddell there coming home ahead of Gonzalo Camara. Camara's spin means he demotes himself to 8th, with Fabrice Cornelis 9th and Patrick Raymond rounding out the top 10. Then you got Mark Usher, a great recovery drive from him. Jan Schwieter there in 12th. Quentin Kint will come home in 13th, with the last of the cars in the league lap being Jamie Wilson. The cars a lap down are Jack Keithley, Simon Trendle, Charlie Summers and Scott McIntyre, and the cars that failed to finish in the fracas earlier on, David Jarvis, Sergei Zakharov, Nick Rowland and also Lionel Gamay as well. Well, we have ourselves a couple of drivers who will be waiting for interview in just a few minutes' time. We're going to step aside and take a very quick commercial break. When we come back, though, post-race coverage here from the Formula Renault 2.0 series.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Welcome back then to post-race coverage here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive, the Formula Renault 2.0 series. rolled itself into this circuit of what was going to be this track of what was Okayama, and some fantastic racing we have seen from that. We've got Scott Newton here in the commentary box with us. Scott, of course, Apex Racing UK driver, and for yourself, 4th position, did a really good job for you there. Started 6th on the grid. You were there just behind here the drivers like of Riley Preston, Castro later, who were battling hard. So for you, was it just a case of trying to pick up the trimmings come the end?
Yeah, hey Jake. Yeah, definitely it was a case of picking up the incidents that happened ahead, especially on lap 1. I think it was contact between Spolstra and Castelletto and Preston. So yeah, just to be able to...
For you, those opening laps were one of those difficult things. You had to make sure that left and right, you were always looking to try and have this scrap, this mentality of just trying to fight your way through a minefield here and there. But you look at Samuel Lebert, he breaks away from you and you just have to take the best of the rest. You know, you didn't really get into a situation. There was one where the two came together, Castrolato and Preston. So for you, was it a case of that one move was your only chance if you sent it down the inside at the second left-hander?
Yeah, to be honest, it was probably the only shot I had. But nope, not sure whether it was a dangerous re-entry, but yeah, I suppose that Ricardo had to jump on the track just to maintain his position. But yeah, to be honest, I probably didn't have the overall pace if I managed to get past Ricardo, but probably if I stayed in the draft behind Riley, I probably would have been able to maintain it. But yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those things. And for you, the last race of 2016 here on iRacingLive. For you, 2017 has to be looking up, especially for this championship. You know, you've had some pretty good results here in the back end of 2016. You're looking to try and get the same similar sort of results, or even a little bit.
My pace has definitely increased over the last season or so. So it's yeah, definitely looking for the stronger results. Unfortunately, there's not as much competition in my time slots, but yeah, it's definitely to be able to get into these top splits and be able to compete for at least the top 5.
Yeah, certainly. And well, that was Scott Newton there of Apex Racing UK. Hopefully, we're going to have the driver in that we need to see right now. We've got Ollie Croker here standing by with Connery Maddock.
Yes, hello there, Ollie. And we saw in the latter half of that race you were catching Boris Spolstra, the championship leader, by multiple tenths per lap. If you had one more lap, do you think you would have caught him?
Probably not, because right after I got over the finish line, I got a fuel message, so I was running out of fuel anyways. But I think it all came down to my poor second qualifying lap and the fact that I started in the second gear, which is really awkward, and that never happened to me before.
Yeah, generally starting second isn't really the best idea, I'm sure you'll agree. But do you feel that you got held up a little bit too much behind Kamara that meant that you perhaps weren't able to catch Spolstra at the end?
Could be, but I had the race before that, or I think 2 races before that, I had a big fight with him as well, and I mean, he is pretty good in terms of battling and to defend his position, so it was quite hard to get by him. And on that lap where I did the pass, I was not as close to him as I would have liked. So I just said to myself, okay, now you have to go for it, otherwise you're not able to catch Boris. And I did it. Maybe it was a little bit of a dive bomb, I don't know, but it worked out. And thanks to Kamara for this, to letting the door open there. And yeah, I think the race for me was the race of the big if. If I would have had the qualifying right, it would have been different. If I had the start right, it would have been different. If I had one more lap in the race, it would have been different. I mean, there's so many if and whens. I'm just happy to finish, I think, 6th at the end. And yeah, it's good that's finally over.
Yes, racing is definitely full of ifs and buts, but you ended up finishing in 6th place, as you said, qualified in 14th, so that is a good gain of positions 16th, there. Oh, you actually, it says on my screen that you qualified 14th.
Oh, really?
So, okay. So there we go, you qualified better than you thought you did. There we go. Yeah, right. I'll have to pass this back to Jake now, and while I'm on the mic here, I have to wish Jake a very happy birthday.
Yeah, for tomorrow, certainly, yes, that would be. But we do have one more driver here in the commentary box with us. It's Riley Preston. Riley, started your day off in second position. A very hefty challenge early on. And you saw the likes of Boris Spolstra getting himself into a spin. Mark Usher as well getting involved. So for you, a very hectic start?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, it's not really the result I was looking for. I got a decent start, and I'm not too sure what Boris was trying on the first lap, but had a bit of contact with him, and yeah, car was a bit damaged after that, and I did my best to keep up, but just didn't have the pace after that.
Didn't have the pace, but what you did have was a sensational battle with Riccardo Castroledo. Two incidents that you could say happened. Firstly, into the revolver, where you saw right rear to what was left front, contact between the pair of you. And secondly, that fantastic overtake, which you just didn't seem to get the traction out of the corner on. So for you, Castroledo simply had your number here today, potentially.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not sure if he got caught up in the big incident on the first lap. But he was certainly quicker than me, and I was quite aggressive on the defending just because I was so frustrated with the damage I had. I thought I had a shot at the win here today, but it wasn't to be. And yeah, it was a fun battle though. I hope it wasn't too dirty on the defending by me, but yeah, third place overall is not too bad.
Certainly isn't too bad at all. And of course, 2017 will be a new year as well. Of course, yourself in the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series, you got yourself this battles going on in the Formula Renault, which is always great to gear up into that bigger and more powerful McLaren MP430. So for you, targeting some good success and potentially even some top fives and a podium maybe this year?
Yeah, hopefully. I just want to get some consistent results and have a better season than last year, because last year was pretty awful for me. So yeah, just get some top 10s, hopefully some top 5s, that'd be good.
But he'll be looking for something good in the future. Riley Preston then, black stripe and all, finishing third position overall then in your Formula Renault 2.0 race here around Okayama. But for the time being, that's all we're going to have time for this evening. A huge thank you to everyone who's been driving, everyone watching through the radio coverage and also through the coverage that we've had here today. A big thank you to Connery Maddock here on my right-hand side, and to my left, Paul Smith and Cisco Skymusa as well. I've been Jake Sperry, and Samuel Lebert will take the advantage as they head on into the next rounds of your Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. Spolstra, however, a quiet day at the office. We'll be looking for something a little bit more. Good night.